My name is Eula Garcia. I'm 29 years old, and 8 weeks ago, I was supposed to get married on a Saturday afternoon in front of 150 guests beneath a chandelier-covered ballroom ceiling. Instead, I spent that Saturday eating wings and sweatpants with my brothers and watching football while my canceled wedding collapsed in real time across social media. And honestly, it was the best decision I ever made. The beginning of the end started at our rehearsal dinner. Ethan's parents chose this ridiculously expensive restaurant downtown with gold-trimmed menus and waiters who refilled your wine before your glass was half empty. Everything about the place screamed old money, trying very hard not to scream. Around 40 people attended. Our families, bridal party, close friends, business associates of his father who somehow ended up invited because apparently weddings were networking opportunities in their world. My father looked uncomfortable the second we walked inside. Dad was a mechanic, Mom was a nurse. They spent their entire lives working overtime so my younger brothers and I could have opportunities they never had. We weren't poor, but we definitely weren't country club wealthy like Ethan's family. His parents had vacation homes. Mine still clipped grocery coupons. That difference followed me our entire relationship, like a shadow I kept pretending not to notice. Little comments, tiny cuts. Ethan's mother once smiled at my handbag and asked if it was vintage Target. His sister Isabel told me it was adorable that I still changed my own oil instead of taking my car to a dealership. His father constantly asked when I planned to move beyond administrative work, even though I managed operations for a medical office and made decent money. Every single insult came wrapped in a smile. And every time, Ethan would either laugh awkwardly or say, "They're kidding, Eula. Don't be sensitive." I told myself love meant compromise. I told myself families were complicated. I told myself eventually they'd see me as good enough. That night proved they never would. The rehearsal dinner started pleasantly enough. Ethan's father stood first with a champagne glass raised, welcoming me into the family in a speech that sounded more like a corporate acquisition than genuine affection. My mother cried anyway, because she always tried to see the best in people. Then my dad gave his toast. Simple. Honest. Emotional. He talked about teaching me to ride a bike in our apartment parking lot, about how proud he was of the woman I'd become, about how he hoped Ethan would protect my heart because I deserved that. I remember squeezing Dad's hand afterward. I also remember Ethan's mother quietly whispering to someone beside her, "Well, that was certainly heartfelt." Something cold settled in my stomach after that. Then Ethan stood up. 3 glasses of wine in, confident, smiling, handsome in that polished private school way that used to intimidate me when we first met. "At first," he said, grinning toward the crowd, "I honestly didn't think Eula and I would last." Some people laughed. I smiled politely. She's very different from the women I usually dated. There was another uncomfortable chuckle somewhere near his college friends. My ex-girlfriend Sabrina, for example. He laughed softly. Now she was refined. Knew wine pairings, spoke Italian, grew up traveling Europe. Total sophistication. My smile started fading. Ethan looked directly at me. But Eula's real. He raised his glass slightly. Authentic, even if she is a little low class compared to someone like Sabrina. Silence. Complete silence. The kind that physically presses against your skin. I heard my mother inhale sharply beside me. My father's jaw tightened so hard I thought he might stand up. Across the table, Ethan's mother smiled like her son had just made a charming joke, instead of humiliating me in front of everyone I loved. And that was the moment everything inside me changed. Not because of the insult itself, Because suddenly, I understood. This wasn't an accident. This was how they all saw me. Every smile, every little joke, every comment about my clothes, my job, my family, my apartment, my car, none of it had been harmless. Ethan sat there, waiting for me to laugh along with everyone else. Instead, I stood slowly. My hands were trembling under the table, but my voice came out calm. "You're absolutely right," I said quietly. Relief crossed his face for half a second. Then I continued. "I would never cheat on you the way Sabrina cheated on you, especially not with your coworker and your best friend at the same time." The color drained from Ethan's face instantly. A wine glass clinked somewhere across the room. His mother froze. His father stopped smiling. And suddenly every single person at that table looked very awake. "Eula," Ethan started. "No," I interrupted softly. "You wanted honesty tonight, remember?" His sister looked horrified now. Not for me. For him. Because everybody knew. Everybody. I looked at Ethan one last time. "I spent 3 years trying to convince myself your family respected me," I said. "Thank you for finally making it obvious." "Baby, come on," he hissed under his breath. "You're overreacting." I actually laughed at that. Then I turned toward my parents. "Mom, Dad, let's go." My father stood immediately, no hesitation. My mother grabbed her purse with shaking hands, already furious on my behalf. My brothers followed behind us while Ethan called my name across the restaurant. I never looked back. Not once. Outside, cold night air hit my face so hard it almost felt cleansing. "Eula!" Ethan came running out after me. "Are you seriously leaving?" I turned around then. The restaurant lights reflected against the glass doors behind him, making him look exactly like the polished, perfect man I used to think I wanted. "You called me low class in front of 40 people. It was a joke." "No," I said quietly. "It was the truth." His expression shifted slightly then. Not guilt. Annoyance. Like I was making things inconvenient. "You embarrassed me back there." That sentence finished whatever love I still had left. I stared at him for several seconds before speaking again. "The wedding's over." His face went white. "Eula, don't be insane." But I was already walking away. Back at my apartment, my phone exploded nonstop. Calls, texts, voicemails. Ethan, his mother, his sister, friends, unknown numbers. I ignored all of them. Around 11 that night, I sat alone on my couch in silence, still wearing my rehearsal dinner dress, staring at the engagement ring on my hand. Then I slipped it off, and finally let myself cry. Not because I lost him, because deep down, I realized I'd spent 3 years begging for acceptance from people who had already decided I would never deserve it. Around midnight, I called the wedding planner. "I need to cancel the wedding," I said calmly. There was a long silence. "The wedding is in 8 days, she whispered carefully. "I know." By morning, I had 83 missed calls, and the real nightmare was only beginning. I woke up the next morning to chaos. My phone screen looked insane. 83 missed calls, more than 200 texts, notifications stacked so high they blurred together into one endless wall of noise. For a few seconds, lying there in bed staring at the ceiling, I almost forgot what happened. Then I remembered Ethan's voice. Low class. And just like that, every ounce of sadness hardened into something colder. I made coffee first. That was the strange part. I wasn't hysterical. I wasn't screaming or throwing things. I felt weirdly calm, like some invisible wire inside me had finally snapped after being pulled too tight for too long. I sat at my kitchen counter and started going through messages. Ethan had sent 31 texts overnight. "Baby, please call me." "You're overreacting." "Can we talk?" "I was drunk." "You embarrassed me too." "I love you." "Please don't do this." Then finally, "If you cancel this wedding, you're ruining both our lives." That one actually made me laugh. His mother had left 12 messages, all variations of how devastated Ethan was and how I owed everyone an apology for making a scene. Making a scene. Like I was the one who stood up at dinner and publicly humiliated my fiancé. His father sent only one message. "We need to discuss this like adults." Which, translated from rich people language, meant, "Let's figure out how to pressure you into compliance quietly." My younger brother Mateo texted, "Honestly, legendary exit." Mom keeps pacing though. That one made me smile for the first time all morning. At 9 sharp, the wedding planner called. "I just need verbal confirmation before I begin cancellations," she said carefully. "You are officially calling off the wedding?" "Yes." A pause. "Okay, I'll be honest with you, Eula. Financially, this is going to hurt." It did. The venue deposit alone was gone. Catering was mostly non-refundable because we canceled too late. Photographer, florist, musicians, transportation. Piece by piece, she walked me through exactly how much money would disappear because of one dinner speech. By the time the call ended, I was losing close to $12,000. 2 years of savings. Gone. And somehow, I still felt relieved. Because marrying him would have cost me far more eventually. 10 minutes later, Ethan called again from a different number. I answered before I could stop myself. "Are you seriously canceling everything?" he demanded immediately. "Yes." "Eula, this is insane." "No, humiliating your fiancé in front of both families was insane." "I said I was sorry." "No, you said I embarrassed you back." Silence. Then a sigh, frustrated already. "You know that's not what I meant." "Then explain exactly what you meant when you called me low class." "You're twisting this." "I'm literally quoting you." "You always do this," he snapped. "You take one bad moment and turn it into some huge character judgment." I stood slowly and walked toward the window overlooking the parking lot below my apartment. "One bad moment?" I repeated quietly. "Your mother making fun of my clothes. Your sister calling my apartment cute like it was some charity case. Your dad acting embarrassed every time I talked about my family. Those weren't isolated moments, Ethan. That was your entire world." "You're being dramatic." There it was again. Dramatic. Sensitive. Overreacting. Every label people use when they want your pain to become the inconvenience instead of their behavior. "You know what hurts the most?" I asked softly. "What?" "You sat there while they disrespected me for 3 years and somehow convinced yourself you were still a good boyfriend?" Silence. Heavy silence. Then he switched tactics instantly. "Look, maybe we postpone the wedding. Couples counseling or something." I closed my eyes. Even now, he still thought this was negotiable. Like respect was a scheduling issue. "No. Eula, I don't want to marry you anymore." "You don't mean that." "I absolutely do." He exhaled sharply into the phone. "My parents are furious." I almost laughed. "Tell them to join the club." Then I hung up and blocked his number. The next thing I handled was my apartment. I'd already given notice because, after the wedding, I was supposed to move into Ethan's luxury condo downtown. Floor-to-ceiling windows, marble countertops, everything perfectly curated and emotionally cold, just like him. I called my landlord immediately. Any chance my notice can be reversed? Thankfully, the couple lined up to rent my place had backed out the day before. You want to stay, Eula? Yes. Done. That conversation felt better than any therapy session could have. Because for the first time in months, something in my life belonged only to me again. Then came the joint bank account. That one made my stomach twist. We'd opened it 2 months earlier for wedding expenses and our future. I'd deposited nearly $15,000 over time. Ethan had contributed around $5,000. The bank representative explained I couldn't close the account without both signatures, but I could withdraw the exact amount I personally contributed. So I did. Every cent. Then I opened a completely new account at another bank. By noon, my wedding was canceled, my finances were protected, and my apartment was secure. I should have felt devastated. Instead, I felt like I could finally breathe. Mom called around 1. The second I heard her voice, my composure almost cracked. "Sweetheart," she whispered carefully, "how are you holding up?" I swallowed hard. "I'm okay." "No, you're not." That nearly broke me. Because mothers always know. "I just keep replaying it in my head," I admitted quietly. And the worst part is realizing everybody there already thought that about me. "No," she said firmly, "not everybody." I leaned against my kitchen counter, eyes burning. "Your father wanted to drive over there this morning and punch Ethan in the face." Despite everything, I laughed. "That sounds like Dad." He said, "Any man who humiliates you publicly doesn't deserve you privately." My throat tightened instantly. Mom lowered her voice. "Eula, none of what they said defines you. Do you understand me? Your father and I are proud of the woman you became. You worked for everything you have. That family thinks money makes people superior because they have nothing else." I started crying quietly then. Not loud sobbing, just exhausted tears. "I really loved him," I whispered. "I know." And part of me still wishes he'd chased me last night and actually understood why I left. Mom was silent for a moment. Then softly, "Sweetheart, men like Ethan don't understand humiliation because they've never truly experienced it themselves." That stayed with me. Later that afternoon, my maid of honor, Sophia, came over, carrying pizza and wine. The second she sat down, she said, "Can I finally be honest now?" I blinked. She sighed heavily. "His family sucked, Eula." I stared at her. She raised both hands immediately. "I didn't say anything before because you looked happy and I thought maybe I was being judgmental. But every single time we were around them, they acted like you were some project Ethan rescued." Hearing someone else say it out loud made me feel sick. "Even his friends," Sophia continued, "they always sounded shocked whenever you talked about normal things, like cooking your own meals or budgeting or fixing stuff yourself." I sank deeper into the couch cushions. How did I not see this clearly? "You did," she said gently. "You just loved him enough to keep excusing it." That hurt because it was true. Around 4 that afternoon, Ethan's father called from another number. No greeting. Straight to business. "We need to discuss financial responsibilities." Of course. Not heartbreak. Not accountability. Money. "I already handled my vendors," I said calmly. "You handle yours." The venue alone was $15,000. And your son publicly humiliated me in front of 40 people. He made a mistake. He revealed the truth. You're throwing away a very privileged future over one emotional reaction. I actually smiled then, because finally, someone in that family said the quiet part out loud.
Privileged future.
Like marrying Ethan was some charity opportunity for a girl from the wrong side of town. I don't want a life where I'm constantly treated like I should feel grateful for being accepted, I said quietly. You're making a massive mistake. No, I replied. I almost made one. Then I hung up. And blocked that number too. By Friday morning, Ethan's mother had somehow gotten my office number. That's when I realized this wasn't going to end quietly. By Friday morning, Ethan's mother had somehow gotten my office number. She left me a 3-minute voicemail, pretending to sound concerned, while basically blaming me for everything. Eula, sweetheart, people fight before weddings all the time. Destroying your future over insecurity is just tragic.
Insecurity.
That word almost made me laugh. Because nothing exposes classism faster than wealthy people calling self-respect insecurity. Things escalated after that. His sister Isabel showed up at my apartment building Wednesday night, demanding to see me. Security called upstairs while she yelled in the lobby about how I was ruining Ethan's life over one harmless joke. I told them I didn't know anyone named Isabel. That felt amazing. Then Ethan started using other people's phones to contact me. One call finally got through while I was grocery shopping. Please, just listen to me for 5 minutes, he said immediately. I leaned against my cart silently. I messed up, he continued. I know I did. But canceling everything? Eula, we can fix this. No, I said quietly. You can't fix something that was never equal to begin with. That's not true. Really? Then why did your family always act like marrying me was some kind of upgrade program?
Silence.
I kept going. Your mother mocked my clothes. Your father treated my career like a temporary hobby. Your sister acted shocked every time I talked about paying bills like a normal adult. And you sat there through all of it. I didn't realize it hurt you this much. Because you never cared enough to ask. That was the moment I truly stopped loving him. Not during the dinner. Not during the insult. Right there. Because even after losing me, he still didn't understand me. Saturday, the day we were supposed to get married, I stayed home with my family and friends. My brothers ordered wings. Sophia brought cupcakes that said Freedom Bride in pink frosting. Dad made margaritas way too strong on purpose. At 3 o'clock, the exact time I should have been walking down the aisle, my mother raised her glass. To Eula, she said proudly, for knowing her worth before signing papers that would have trapped her with people who didn't deserve her. Everybody cheered. And for the first time in weeks, I felt peaceful. 6 weeks later, the fallout finally settled. I lost nearly $12,000. His family lost far more. Mutual friends quietly started siding with me once the real story spread. Apparently, several people at the rehearsal dinner were horrified by what Ethan said, but were too uncomfortable to speak up in the moment. One unexpected message hit hardest. A waitress from the restaurant found me online. We were all rooting for you when you walked out, she wrote. The kitchen staff literally applauded. I stared at that message for a long time. Because somehow, strangers respected me more in one night than Ethan's family had in 3 years. As for Ethan, he kept posting vague quotes online about heartbreak, growth, and betrayal. His mother even had a lawyer send me a ridiculous letter warning me not to damage their family reputation. I ignored it.
Completely.
The funniest part came 2 months later at a friend's birthday party. I accidentally met Sabrina, the famous sophisticated ex-girlfriend. She laughed the second she heard my name. "Oh my God," she said. "You're the rehearsal dinner girl." "Guess so." She shook her head slowly. "Ethan always cared too much about appearances. His parents are worse." Then she smiled sadly. "For what it's worth, you did the brave thing. I wish I had." That conversation healed something inside me. Because suddenly, I realized the problem was never me. Not my job. Not my apartment. Not my family. Not my so-called class. The problem was that Ethan and his family measured human value like it was a bank account. And people like that never stop ranking others. 3 weeks ago, I started seeing someone new. Nothing serious yet. His name's Daniel. He teaches history at a public high school and drives a 12-year-old Honda with one broken speaker. Last weekend, I mentioned fixing my own sink, and instead of mocking me, he asked if I could help him fix his. No judgment. No performance. No superiority. Just normal kindness. Turns out that feels a lot rarer than wealth. Sometimes I still think about that rehearsal dinner, about how humiliated I felt sitting there while people stared at me. But honestly, that night probably saved my life. Because marrying Ethan would have meant spending years shrinking myself just to fit into a family that already decided I was beneath them. Now I live in my small apartment filled with IKEA furniture and grocery store wine, and peace so deep it still surprises me sometimes. And you know what? I think that's worth more than all the country clubs in the world.